guys, my name is Opal Cadman and welcome. Today I have three main tasks. The first one is to introduce you to Koch Media's brand new premium gaming label. Number two is to take a deep dive into some of the games coming to that label. And finally, number three is to show you what the new label will be getting up to in the streaming world. I want to welcome streamers who are co-streaming this today. Hello. Some of you guys are guys who I have looked up to and watched for many years. And speaking of people who I've looked up to for many years, I am so proud to introduce Jeff Keeley, who will be helping me co-host us through this entire list of games. Jeff, how's it going?
Thanks, Opal. It is so great to be here with you for the first ever live stream from Prime Matter. I was honored yesterday to reveal the label to the world at the Summer Game Fest kickoff event. And wow, you've got a lot of games there in that sizzle, over a dozen games. So I know today you're going to go a little bit more in depth to talk about all these games, to talk to a lot of the developers. But for those of you that might have missed it yesterday or just want to see it again, let's kick things off with a look at that announcement sizzle reel for Prime Matter.
Sometimes I ask myself what it all means. Let's begin. Is that who you are?
My purpose makes me who I am.
I finally have the feeling we're doing something worthwhile.
Being relied on to succeed where others would fail.
Yes, guys, you just saw 12 games and counting. And that's just the start for Prime Matter. But before we get into these incredible games, what I like to call the juicy bits, I want to talk to you about what Prime Matter is and who we are. Prime Matter is the new premium gaming label of Koch Media. It dedicates itself to delivering a range of immersive and diverse games from amazing development talent all around the globe. It highlights the varied influences of global studios and their different approaches to game making. The new label will lead through creativity and expression with games that enthrall players with larger-than-life storytelling, create incredible moments, and above all, they're fun. The team behind Prime Matter is a melting pot of incredible talent, led by seasoned industry veterans and complemented by a young, fresh, dynamic team of multicultural gaming experts. The team behind are gamers at heart, working with such a wide range of passionate developers producing games together by gamers for gamers. And that being said, for all you keen-eyed individuals out there, you would have seen that one game was actually missing in our 12-game lineup for Prime Matter during the video. That is a game that comes from the Embracer family itself. Jeff got to sit down with Todd Hollinshead and talk all about Painkiller.
All right, you saw the news yesterday. Yes, there is a new Painkiller coming, and Todd is joining me now to maybe give us a few more details. I know this is kind of a fresh project for the team at Saber. And you guys, first of all, I love that you and Tim Willits are there, continuing to build out Saber. And Painkiller was a franchise. You and I are both OG. We remember was it probably 15 years ago at this point?
Yeah, it's been a while. Closer to two decades than one.
My God. All right. Well, but it's one of those classic games. Let me ask you, from a Prime Matter perspective, you've been in the industry like me all those years, and we remember that game. Why was this a franchise that you guys wanted to sort of bring back?
Well, Painkiller, when I played it back in the early 2000s, this is a game that had, it was dark, a little twisted, intense, cool guns. These are the things that, kind of hit the nail on the head of what appeals to me in a video game, both as, as a fan and then also as a publisher at Saber. So, we're hoping to capture those same sort of elements and bring those into the new game.
Yeah. You guys are certainly masters of doing shooters from all your time at id, and Painkiller does have a lot of that DNA of fast-paced action with a little bit of a twist to it, and the fact you guys are working with Prime Matter is also exciting. Brand new publisher, brand new label. What do you think of the fact that they're doing this label, and it's such a diverse lineup of companies and partners around it? I know you guys work with a lot of publishers, but it's pretty exciting to see a new label announced. That doesn't happen every day.
No, it doesn't. And, I think that within the Embracer Group, it's just a business that is growing. We've got great leadership at the top. And so Koch Media is, wanting to expand their publishing. And I think that, the name they chose, Prime Matter, sort of is, it's sort of like the primordial soup of putting together stuff from nothing. So, it kind of makes me think of this is what we do when we make video games. You start with Pixel Zero, and then at the end of the day, you make a game. So I feel like that, that kind of resonates with hopefully the type of experiences that we're going to be providing, not just within Prime Matter and working with them between Saber and our partnership, but, across the Embracer Group as well.
Yeah, no, it sounds like they have a lot of games in development, but the fact that you are bringing back Painkiller is really exciting. And I know, fans, of course, want to know a little bit about, what's the game going to look, how's it going to play. Probably can't share a lot of details about it, but you're kind of in the early stages of development now on this.
Yeah, super early. And, if anything that I would share, I'd probably get assassinated for back home once I got back to the developer, because, all these, the first stuff that comes out almost always gets sort of iterated on and changed. And so we're trying to keep the lid on the details until we have something that's going to be really awesome to show.
All right. Well, we will be waiting for it. And we know with you involved, it's going to be something very special, fast-paced action, I have no doubt. So new Painkiller coming soon from the team at Saber, published by Prime Matter. Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, Jeff.
I really can't wait to hear more about Painkiller and the fact that Todd and Tim and the team at Saber are working on it. I think we're going to get something pretty special when they are ready to share more. So, exciting stuff in that sizzle reel, Painkiller, Payday, but I know there's a lot more we're here to talk about today as well, right, Opal?
Actually, Prime Matter has 12 games under development right at this minute. We're so excited to show you guys what us and the developers have been up to. However, before you see some of the content that we show you today, I do have to make it clear that some of this is pre-alpha, alpha, high-level concept, and some of it is about to release right around the corner. So please keep that in mind when you're viewing today's show. That being said, how do you guys feel about a psychedelic third-person survival horror game set on what it means to go on a journey about self-enlightenment and what happens when it all goes wrong? I got to speak with the developers of The Chant, work in progress title, about their game and who they are.
Our game is about a group of people who go to a spiritual retreat to seek enlightenment, and they basically get a little more than they bargained for. And your character has to deal with her own personal issues as well as the cosmic terrors that become awakened.
Cool. So what type of genre is this game?
I mean, it's a bit hard to pin down with the with all the different influences and styles of gameplay, but I'd say we're probably a survival action horror game.
Okay. Cool. And what was the thinking behind that genre? Is it something that you guys like, or is it just it came left field? What's your decision behind that?
Personally, we always wanted to make a horror game. A big part of our core team have a background in third-person sandbox games. And we really wanted to combine, action mechanics, deep storytelling, and we felt that the horror genre was a really exciting space to take that background and play around with.
So, kind of sticking with the horror genre, why did you decide to go with that theme? It's not really like normally what you would see, this whole spiritual awakening thing. So what was the idea behind that?
We thought it was just kind of an interesting territory to explore. There is, there's a lot of influence from that with like folk horror of the 70s and giallo horror and so forth that really inspired us more from a film standpoint. And, taking that kind of aesthetic, something that was very sensational, very colorful, and mixing it in with more action-oriented and exploratory game mechanics, we felt was a fresh take on the horror space.
So kind of speaking about your inspirations and stuff, what video games, real life media has inspired you to create this title?
Well, going way back when Resident Evil 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. Alone in the Dark, Eternal Darkness. So a lot of games are very inspirational to us. Our game actually started off as a game with fixed camera angles and so forth, and then we over the course of development. Just especially really focusing on bringing more of an action element to it. We've since switched to an over-the-shoulder camera and haven't looked back.
So kind of talking about changes and what you guys are doing on the development side, how close is the game to like the original concept? I understand you guys are still developing the game's quite far out, but from your original concept to where the game is now, how much has that differed?
The core story and I'd say the aesthetic and the themes, those all remain intact. I'd say our gameplay, as our team size grew, we added deeper mechanics. I'd say more action to the game. Our game actually has a fair amount of combat in it, especially on the melee side. Those were things that weren't too prevalent in our original concept, and a lot of those things are just kind of based on we're a very small team at first. We're still a relatively small team, but every new person that joins, brings something new to the mix. So I'd say on that end, the game has evolved in scope and depth of gameplay.
Awesome. Kind of sticking on that point of, you got a small team, there's a lot of challenges that comes with that. What was the hardest part of making the game so far?
The hardest part was probably trying to make a game that has more realistic production values, because that's where our background comes from. On a smaller scale and budget. So for us, we had to be very strategic. Utilizing Unreal, we wouldn't have been able to build this game without utilizing an engine like Unreal. Previously, we had worked on more proprietary technology. And that's also great because, new people that join the team can get up and running on the engine quite quickly. In addition to that, we've been using photogrammetry from the start. For both our environments. All of our characters are also scanned actors, and we're using, also tapping into a lot of what's going on in our city. Vancouver has a pretty big film industry, so really tapping into the film and the effects industry and tapping into that area of expertise to just kind of try to do things as efficiently as possible.
So you've mentioned like experience in the past and also kind of how rich Vancouver is. How much does that come in handy when you're working on the game?
Oh, it's been extremely beneficial. Vancouver, is home to a lot of AAA studios. A large portion of us work together at Rockstar and United Front Games, and we also have people who have worked at the Coalition and EA, as well as some smaller independent studios as well. And in addition to that, having the film industry here, where we can utilize local talent. We're working with union actors. We're scanning actors as well that we're using for our characters, and we're actually currently auditioning a couple remaining characters for the game, and as well as doing the finishing touches on our new motion capture studio. So we're going to be doing a full cinematics push over the coming months. That's a really exciting place to be right now.
Awesome. Sounds great. In terms of exciting things, when it comes to this game, what are you most proud of at the minute where you are?
I think the thing I'm the most proud of is just what a small focused team can do when they're all sharing the same goal and vision. As I said earlier, we come from different backgrounds, but everyone's managed to come together and really deliver an amazing amount of work for the team size we have. And it's really exciting to be working on a smaller team again, and just having that kind of energy where you're working with everyone on the team day to day. Yeah, I imagine that is a lot different to probably what some of you are used to coming from those massive studios. So finally, what are the benefits of signing up with a global publisher like Koch, and also, being featured on their brand new label? It's truly an exciting place to be. We've been kind of pushing our game as far as we could, and this partnership is really helping to provide more reach and more resources, but I think most importantly also just having a partnership on getting feedback and helping to really expand and push the vision of the game. We've already received a lot of feedback on the title, and being a small team, we're often in our own little echo chamber, and even in a short period of time, we've been able to act on a lot of the feedback, and the game has improved considerably since then.
Well, Mike, thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome to talk to you and find out a little bit more about what you guys are going to be offering for the new label. And I can't wait to let gamers finally get their hands on the content. So thank you for your time.
From psychedelic horrors to internet rumors, our next developer created the huge open world of Bohemia and took us on an adventure through the Holy Roman Empire. However, there have been some leaks that this action RPG may have a home on the Switch. Opal sat down with Warhorse Studios to try and get to the bottom of this.
Kingdom Come Deliverance on the Switch. That is quite some news.
Yes, that's true. Kingdom Come Deliverance is coming to the Nintendo Switch. And as you said, it's about gamers, devs, and games. In our case, or in this case, actually gamers play an integral part in the story.
What do you mean?
Well, some kind of confusion happened in the end of last year. We Warhorse Studios were preparing the release of the Kingdom Come Deliverance Royal Edition on PlayStation and Xbox, but someone most likely ticked the wrong box in Japan, and it looked like it's going to be released on Switch as well. Of course, by that time there was nothing existing like that. We were not even thinking about the possibility that Kingdom Come Deliverance could go on the Switch. However, Nintendo Japan took this information, some Japanese media, and then the snowball started rolling. All of a sudden, it was the talk of the day. Kingdom Come Deliverance is releasing on the Switch. But as I said, nothing like that was planned at all, and we didn't even think about that. Now, a few months back, and we think it was still somehow cursing around in the Nintendo database, Nintendo of Spain posted a picture on Twitter where they had different pictures of open world games, and they were promoting already existing open world games on the Nintendo Store. And if you clicked on the picture, actually there was nothing like Kingdom Come Deliverance, of course not, because as I said, nothing like that is existing. However, again, it created confusion. People were talking about it again, like, okay, so is it coming, is it not coming? But for us, actually, And as I said, we didn't think about that until that time. For us, we started to think. We started to think there's a lot of interest, there's a lot of buzz. People are actually talking about us, reaching out to us, like they seem to want Kingdom Come Deliverance on the Nintendo Switch. So we started to think. And since we are already in the Koch Media family or the Embracer family, and there's a lot of talented studios, so is Saber Interactive. And who but them would be actually capable of bringing the Kingdom Come Deliverance version on the Switch? So we sat together, and now we are here talking about the Nintendo Switch version on Kingdom Come.
So what you're saying is that a community of gamers made this happen?
More or less, yes. The community feedback we got, of course, was a big drive for this entire project. But this comes from our general background. So think of the Kickstarter project we had in the day. So without the community, there wouldn't be any Warhorse Studios or any Kingdom Come Deliverance. So we always try to be very close to them and working together with them, and even coming up with crazy ideas together with them. So for instance, the Savior Schnapps, our own liquor we created later, was actually a community idea. We have our own beer brand. We recently released a blue brick set, like a building set for Kingdom Come Deliverance buildings. And now one of the latest projects is the Kingdom Come Deliverance soap bar, which should give you the real medieval smell. In that case, I must say, medieval smells actually pretty well. And we are coming up with crazy stuff like that all the time. Our next new merchandise project is a Farkle boxed board game, kind of. So Farkle, for those who don't know, that's like this Kingdom Come Deliverance minigame, a dice minigame you can play in the game. And now with Griffon Studios, we are coming up with a boxed version you can get and play Farkle at home against your friends or against your family or whatever. So that's pretty cool if you ask me. But generally, if you're interested in these kind of stuff, just check the Warhorse Studios social media accounts. You get all the information you need there.
Ooh, my favorite. Soapy hot news. Speaking of soapy hot news, how do you feel about Warhorse being under the new label Prime Matter?
It's a huge honor, of course. We were working together with Koch for over 4 years already. In 2019, we then even became part of the entire Embracer family. So that was a big thing. And now being able to take part at the beginning of something new, be there when there's a new label being created, that is a big thing for us. And especially if you consider that we come there as an established partner already, that is really cool, and we are looking forward to a bright future.
Thank you very much, Toby. We cannot see what Warhorse has got cooking. However, until that time, Toby, goodbye.
So are we. Thank you very much, and see you.
From internet rumors back to reality, we will have more on Kingdom Come Deliverance for Switch as we get it.
All right, let's move from RPGs to FPS games. Final Form, which is a working title, is an action-packed sci-fi adventure where you play the role of a humanoid avatar of a sentient spaceship sent on a mission to the edge of the known universe to battle an unstoppable plague. The game is still a long ways from completion, but here's a very quick peek at what's in store.
Hi, we are Raycon Games, and what you have just seen is the first glimpse of our upcoming game codenamed Final Form.
Final Form is an action-packed, epic sci-fi FPS in which you are a female-formed humanoid machine on a space mission with no return.
At the heart of the game is a mystery and alien worlds to explore, but also an adrenaline-fueled combat. In final form, it's all about the freedom and power of movement, being a machine unrestrained by human weaknesses. There are numerous abilities and gadgets that come with your robotic body, so you can give yourself away to the fantasy of becoming an unstoppable cybernetic goddess blazing away in a spectacular ballet of destruction.
Raycon is located in Warsaw, Poland, with additional team members located all over the world. The studio was founded and is managed entirely by game developers. Since the success of Ruiner, we've grown quite substantially. Currently, Raycon is over 50 brilliant game creators. And counting. We are not a huge team, but what we love to do is to evolve together with our projects, constantly finding smarter and better ways to achieve something truly unique. We build our work environment just like we make games, aiming for the best results and personal fulfillment. We strongly believe that the well-being of team members needs to be taken care of first, before we can pour all of that love into a game. The partnership with Koch Media has been very fruitful and inspiring. We're happy to be in the avant-garde of the upcoming new label. We're looking forward to share more on Final Form in the future. And in the meantime, please enjoy the rest of the show and see you around.
I have to say, guys, I love the soundtrack from Final Form. Moving on to our next game, which is just as special. What if you took Lovecraftian and Gagaris themes and mixed it all together with hardcore RPG elements? That's exactly what Massive Works Studios are doing. I got to sit down with their CTO to talk about their game, Dolmen. Speak now to Gabriel Ferreira, CTO of Massive Works Studios, who joins us now from Campinas near São Paulo in the southeast of Brazil. So, Gabriel, what is Dolmen about?
First of all, it's a pleasure to be here and to participate. So let me tell a little bit about what Dolmen is. Dolmen is that kind of a game where the hero needs to save everyone from an alien threat. Fighting with all kinds of monsters and struggling to keep going forward. Yeah, that's the kind of game that Dolmen is not about. In this game, you actually save the drillers, which is the alien species that live on that planet, but you're going there to help a company save its investment. So you're not really the nice guy that's trying to save everyone. It's just a job. But we hope that the players consider the humanity, the greed, the war, and the spares and the challenges that come to mind along with that job. Taking all that part, and yes, Dolmen is also about fighting all kinds of monsters and struggling. After all, it is a hard game. It's a hardcore game. It's inspired on Souls-like, so yes, you're going to die a lot.
Awesome. Thank you. So when thinking about the name Dolmen, obviously you guys went for that for like a very specific reason. What's the thinking behind the name? Why did you go for Dolmen?
So there was many things that came to our mind when describing the name of the game. Dolmen, which means a single chamber tomb, a megalithic tomb. We thought it would be a good word to describe this stone, this crystal that we have that is related to death. In many ways, everyone that deals with this crystal in the game is close to bringing problems to everyone that is around. And we wanted this to be the main piece of the game.
Cool. Awesome. And now I know that people may or may not have heard of Dolmen before, so it is already out there in the world. But how long has it taken to get to this point?
Oh, it's been a long journey since the beginning of the project. We started at late 2016, so it's been almost 5 years now, and probably just a bit more till it come out. But we and about our journey, if it wasn't the support that we had since the beginning, either our community, the Kickstarters, and you guys, I believe we would not be here right now.
Lovely. How have you been inspired by other games? You mentioned like the Souls-like obviously inspires it. You know, are there other games that inspire you? And also, what games do the teams like?
First of all, regarding inspirations, a lot of games came to us when we were producing the game and when we were first thinking of it. Obviously, we are really passionate and we really love Souls-like games. So Bloodborne, Dark Souls, those games were our main inspirations. But we drew inspirations from all different kind of sources. So we had inspirations in Dead Space, in Mass Effect, and also not only inspirations in other games, but also inspirations in movies and Lovecraftian stories. For example, Alien and Geiger, and those were our main inspirations. About games that we most like and games that our team likes, it's really hard to say because we have a team that ranges from liking Dota to CS and Souls-like games. But what I can really tell you is that everyone of our team is passionate about the project because they love doing what they do, which is a hardcore game.
Yeah, and that makes sense as well when you get hands on Dolmen, all these inspirations that have come in. So the game is set in a sci-fi universe. Is there any specific reason you decided to go down that route? Was there any other routes that you considered at first?
Yeah. Well, the humans are afraid of what they don't know. And the universe has infinite possibilities. There is always something unknown that we can explore in space. So that sci-fi setting really was something that we could use to throw everything that our insane minds could come with. So we wanted to use the sci-fi as a tool to reach this goal, to present the player a world of unknown that he can fear and he can enjoy it.
No, absolutely. And while we're kind of on the point of humans and Earth, you guys are based in Brazil, which is awesome. Are there any specific challenges that you face during development because of that, or just in general?
Yeah, there were a lot of challenges that we faced along this 5-year journey. We obviously had to adapt our workflow in these late years. So 2020 and 2021 was a really challenge for us. But it was something that we could adapt well, especially because even that we're based in Brazil, we're not only based in a single location in Brazil. We have people spread across the country. So it was easy enough to overcome that challenge. But there were several challenges since getting development kits and finding people that are really capable of helping us to deliver this amazing game. And that's what we gather, and that's something that our company appreciates the most and really gives value, is the people that we work with. They were really incredible people, and they were really rare over here.
Absolutely, that's really cool. Kind of on that theme of development and challenges, given how development and technology often dictates how a game evolves throughout its development, how kind of close are you to the original concept that you guys came up for Dolmen?
Well, there are different point of views on that answer, especially because we started really small. And in the journey of the game, for example, it started as a concept from a few friends that get together and they brainstormed it for months. The game diverged in two senses. And one of them, when we first started the game is huge and is insane and has a lot of background on it. It has all this universe around it. So a lot of it has been built. So people that loves lore and loves the universe that we are creating, they will have a lot to explore on that side. But the game from its original concept evolved a lot, especially now that we have more tools at our disposal. So on the tech side, it advanced way better than we imagined. Back 2016, we didn't have all the resources that we have now. So, of course, we made some sacrifices here and there and in order to achieve our goal. But we're never happy with satisfied at that point of satisfaction, you know. We want to reach more. At the end of the day, this is also a game and we are having fun, but on top of all, we want to make a brilliant game for the player.
Absolutely. And speaking about like making the game and the development of the game, seeing as you are lead programmer as well, what was the hardest part of making the actual game?
I believe that we could have gone into different options, especially, for example, we could have wanted to make a game that was simpler or smaller or not have that many hours of gameplay. But we decided to go to a hardcore game, even though it's a first game of our company. So we decided to go full in into that challenge. We faced a lot of challenges, as I mentioned previously, but I believe the hardest part of the game was finding the correct professionals and focusing on what we were doing, and keeping yourself focused for 5 years on a single game is something that is challenging for everyone, especially right now. So it was a difficult decision, but we wanted to make that. Regarding programming, and as a programmer, there's a lot of that I could keep talking about. What is the harder? Multiplayer is always challenging, but finding that balancing fit, so the game that is not unfair, but is hard. So we wanted to aim hardcore players. So this was really something that was hard.
So you mentioned like 5 years of development, which is a crazy long time. How have you kept yourself motivated? How have the team kept themselves motivated?
I won't say that it was easy, because it wasn't. But I would say that most of all, we were always having these meetings in order to play the game. Even now that we are remote, we keep getting up every day and making a meeting and showcasing what we are doing and working alongside each one of us. Also, a lot of things that happened before COVID was the events. The events always made us super happy. So showcasing the game to everyone and getting the players to play the game and see how they react, it was something incredible for us. It really made us feel proud of what we were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like everyone's missing that event feeling, right? When you actually get to see people on the games and you're like, oh, wow, everyone's loving our games. I think it's something that everyone is missing, definitely. Speaking of kind of motivation and happy times, what are you most proud of this game? What have you guys worked on that you're like, yeah, we did that?
I believe that the universe that we created is amazing. It has a lot of background from it. So, for example, we even made some comics for it that we prepared. We have a lot of story, some crazy cinematics. So we're really proud of the universe that we created, this game that we made, and achieving what we did is what makes us feel proud. And now that we have partnered with you, getting to expand that universe and getting to get closer to our original concept and what we meant for it, that is something that makes us really happy.
Cool. Awesome. Speaking of partnership with us, what are the benefits of signing up with a global publisher like Koch on their brand new label?
That's really an amazing feeling for us. Koch really helped us and takes care of the operation that we couldn't make it for ourselves. They have an amazing team of QA localization, so we can reach different countries and players everywhere. We have a great producer that worked with us, helping us reach our goals and really deliver the game that we want. And without Koch opened the doors for us on that sense. And being part of this new label is a great opportunity for us, and also to know other game developers and expand the game community. And and to meet you as well. We really thank you for this opportunity.
Absolutely. We are so happy to have you guys on board. And more importantly, I am so excited to actually let people play this game at some point under this new label. So thank you so much for your time, Gabriel. It's been awesome talking to you. And let's release Dolmen at some point under the new label. Thank you for your time and see you later.
Thank you. See you.
Now, the first title from Prime Matter will be the beautiful, highly anticipated King's Bounty 2. We have a first look at the gameplay trailer, and then Opal got a chance to sit down and talk with CEO Nikolai Baryshnikov.
The balance is off. Our land, Nostria, dances on the knife's edge of fate. King Claudius, my father, cannot lead, and his absence has set the realm in motion. Something is coming. Now the burden of the crown falls onto me. Nostria was flourishing, but there is unrest.
It used to be beautiful here. My wife and I had a nice life then.
Conspiracy, sabotage, necromancy, they all threaten this land asunder. But we must unite, for distorted terrors are advancing. Rumors tell of a false prophet, putting our hope in something that does not exist. A seer foretells that our Savior is among us. People of Nostria, you laid faith in my father, do so to me. We must look towards the horizon, fight back the darkness, and preserve the light of our land. For Nostria!
guys, thanks for joining me, and I am joined by Nikolai Barinshtakov from 1C Entertainment, who is CEO and creator of King's Bounty 2. So King's Bounty has been years in development and has a 30-year pedigree. So what is it that makes King's Bounty 2 so special?
The original King's Bounty was a grandfather of games of series like Heroes of Might and Magic. So it created these turn-based gameplay when we have a hex-based battlefield and the troops are moving in turns, like chess pieces on the board. So I think that's the key. The cornerstone of King's Bounty. Absolutely, and kind of speaking about that, and I know as you mentioned, the first King's Bounties was 1990, and then you had the King's Bounty that you guys created in the 2000s. What technical improvements now that we're in 2021 are you most excited about implementing into the new King's Bounty 2? Well, I'm a huge fan of the core aspect of the game with tactical battles. And if in the previous games, the battlefield was always a flat surface, so now we're bringing the battlefield into 3D. So we will have, line of sights, hills, like simple example, if your archers are located on the hill, they will do like extra damage for the high ground, etc. So moving the battlefield to 3D is a huge step forward. And then the whole role-playing part, the exploration part, we decided to move more towards games like, Fable or Mass Effect, kind of, epic, big role-playing games, as opposed to have a top-down isometric view of, tiny little character on a horse just galloping around the map. So we are moving towards this kind of epic fantasy adventure. Because this is not like a small indie title anymore. This is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, production we've done in Moscow so far. So speaking of the other King's Bounty games, will this King's Bounty 2 follow the other stories of the games, or will it be a standalone title? No, the game will not follow on any previous games. But even the previous King's Bounties, they all sort of like disconnected. There was like the main protagonist, there are a bunch of evil guys. There's like a small quest. And I would say that a previous King's Bounty, it was not like an epic RPG adventure. So the game was more about just battling random monsters on the map and solving some little quests. And then King's Bounty 2 is really, a epic adventure. We had spent like dozens of hours solving puzzles, working with different factions, making decisions that change the character and the world. So we're really moving much more towards, an epic RPG. However, this is a rare combination where our game, King's Bounty, is not an action RPG. It's not a Witcher game where you have to, quickly press buttons on your joysticks and battle enemies in the field. It's interesting crossbreed of a high fantasy role-playing game with a tactical strategy title, which, it's not like quote unquote was never done on consoles, but this is fairly unique combination for the console. And for me, like a great inspiration was a modern remake of XCOM, for example, because I was a huge fan of XCOM that was released in 1994, 1996, and the modern console reinventing of XCOM. This is something we're trying to achieve with King's Bounty, really make a modern game that works well on modern platforms, that works well with current understanding of gamers, how a game should look like. So we're trying to enhance it in every possible direction. Yeah, cool. Awesome. Kind of speaking about the story of King's Bounty 2 and how it differs, it appears to have a darker, more gritty aesthetic compared to its predecessors. What was the design philosophy around that? Why did you decide to go with that instead? That's an interesting question. We've been debating on the design approach. And again, as I said, we spent a lot of time prototyping, working on the core gameplay and the looks and the art of the game. Previous game had this more cartoonish kind of fancy indie look, but we decided we are now trying to play in different league. We're trying to make a much bigger title, a big game, an epic adventure. We've been astonished by modern fantasy titles both in Hollywood and in games. And we thought that this is a good idea, actually, to upgrade King's Bounty to what we call like high fantasy or like realistic fantasy. So it's not a dark fantasy like Kingdom Come, when they're like, dirty peasants, everything is bad. No, it's more like, as I said, like high fantasy, epic characters. If there's a dragon, it looks like a dragon, not like a toy. If there's a villain, he or she looks like a real bad person. So that was the main philosophy. Plus, game development evolves, and I don't think that it's a good idea to take a game of 2008 and just make a replica with slightly enhanced graphics in 2021. So you need, especially for consoles, there's a specific expectation from somebody coming to the store or buying the game digitally or online. Okay, this is like a $49, $59 game. It has to look graphically and gameplay-wise like this. There's an expectation, and we believe that that's what we have to do.
Yeah, so we've mentioned that this game combines different kind of like ways that you can play the game, basically, from third-person RPG elements to this unique fighting system, this kind of chess-like fighting system. Why did you choose, with the evolution of game design and how people play games, why did you choose to stick to these hybrid game mechanics? Do you think that this is kind of what makes King's Bounty?
Absolutely. I think you got it spot on, so I don't even need to answer. King's Bounty is again, there's a grandfather of turn-based games. So if you remove tactical combat from King's Bounty, then it becomes, I don't know, Mass Effect or Kingdom Come. So so we can play around with evolution of this gameplay, make it more fun or realistic. But obviously, this is the core. So this is a tactical game with a lot of role-playing aspects and high fantasy aspects, and not the other way around. So again, gamers who like RPG with shooting elements, games like Cyberpunk, this King's Bounty is probably not for them. I'm sorry, it's a different game.
Yeah, and in terms of, we've mentioned kind of this new 3D world that you're creating when it comes to the fighting style, and then these RPG mechanics and making this world feel more alive and more exciting. What was actually the hardest part of you making the game? What took the longest time? What kind of caused you the most headaches?
Hard to say. First of all, this multiple platform game, so there are specific technical issues that prolong the development. If you make just, let's say, a PC title or just a PlayStation game, then you are not having a headache of porting to different platforms, getting different specifications, TCRs, approvals. So that adds a lot. And then secondly, the production itself. As soon as we went away from this kind of cartoonish easy-looking isometric view into a 3D high fantasy and the production of assets. So we wanted to build like a huge map. We wanted to populate this map with a lot of characters that would just move around, go somewhere, have their own like stories. Then we decided to, instead of having like text dialogues, we decided to produce a lot of engine-based cutscenes to push the story, to explain what's going on. So we even had to buy our motion capture studio. We worked with like a dozen actors, and there are hours and hours and hours of in-game based cutscenes, which in the past could be just dialogues and pieces of text. That was another huge complication.
No, absolutely. And then the final question, what are the benefits of signing up with a global publisher like Koch and being on their brand new gaming label?
Oh, that provides us a lot of additional support because, I'm not sure that all gamers understand how games get to the market. So making a game, writing pieces of code or, drawing this, amazing sketch of a dragon, is only half of the puzzle. So it's like yin yang. You need a lot of support from production people, testing, localization, manufacturing, retail units, putting all this, units into the retail shops in the world, making mass market communications. So we decided to cooperate with Koch Media. That seemed to be the ideal partner. So we are on the market for many, many years. And I would say very honestly, I was personally a bit scared if we do it just ourselves, that we might not have the human resources to deliver the information about the game. The game itself, we'll work with all the platform holders as effectively as in a co-production and co-publishing with such esteemed partners, Koch Media and Embracer Group. So I'm quite happy.
Awesome. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for your time, Nikolai. And I cannot wait for people to get their hands on King's Bounty too.
Oh, me too. Trust me, me too. After 2 years of development, that's going to be one of the most exciting days for me in 2021.
We have 12 titles. We keep saying it. And honestly, I shouldn't have a favorite. It's like picking between a favorite child. However, this next title speaks to me on a gaming level unlike any other. This third-person action-adventure shooter will keep you up at night tossing and turning with its horrific, nightmarish creatures. Think Alice in Wonderland meets Alien, or as one US journalist put it, Tomb Standing. Guys, sit back, relax, grab a pillow, because you get a world-exclusive look at Scars Above.
Good job. Dr. Ward, Dr. Yoshida, get to the bridge, please. Time to see what's inside our alien guest. Telemetry check.
Telemetry check. Here go.
Wow. How is this possible? What planet is this? How did I end up here? Log entry. The gate has an internal conduction system. The 3 points on the rim seem sensitive. A targeted blast of electricity should cause a reaction. The debris. It's from Hermes. It must have splintered off as it entered the atmosphere. Mira. It's still intact. What the hell was that?